earning and maintaining the trust of your used car manager is going to earn you way more, hours and work than, doing something that might be a little bit deceitful. If you're mechanically reconditioning a vehicle and you know it's got that much cosmetic damage, in the back of your mind, you know that the used car manager may not be aware. You owe it to them to let them know. So include that in your inspection. They need to know going in what to expect.
Hi, I am Dennis McGinn, founder and CEO of vehicle reconditioning and communications company, Rapid Recon. At your place, we visit guests at their place of business to engage in conversations about the auto industry. Today we have Anthony Greenhalgh, Senior Director of Sales and Marketing Operations for Rapid Recon. We're here to talk about one of his passions that I know he is very knowledgeable about, is collision repair and reconditioning. Welcome, Anthony.
Thanks, Dennis.
To get started, what is collision repair in retail, and why are you qualified to tell us about this topic?
Well, and I think that what you meant to ask was, what is collision repair and reconditioning? But as you know, working for Rapid Recon for 6 years prior to that, I was in the collision industry. I ran a collision center for a multi-franchise dealer out of Salt Lake City, Utah. We had 12 franchises that fed vehicles into this space. And the primary location, what we called our flagship store, actually did our reconditioning right in our collision center, at least our cosmetic reconditioning. And that was something that I internalized. When I actually came up through the parts industry, and when I got into collision, one of the things I noticed, and all dealers watching this today, you all have this, at least most of you do. You've got that guy out on your parking lot that is just banking on your checkbook, fixing cars right in your parking lot. And as I was sitting in my office one day and I'm looking outside, in the parking lot that I'm paying rent on, there are vendors out there doing cosmetic work. And I went, why aren't we doing this in-house? Well, the first question was can you do it as affordably as these people in the parking lot? And at that time, the answer was no, I couldn't. The collision industry has very high standards. They repair vehicles with a lifetime guarantee that this isn't going to fail or peel. And the people that are spraying this stuff out in your parking lot, they give you an over-the-curb warranty. And so the repairability is vastly different between what we were seeing in the collision industry and what we were doing in the parking lot. So we had to get creative and really bring in that type of an industry into our fold. But we didn't want to bring it in under the umbrella of our collision repair. We felt like that could damage the brand and damage the name. So we created a DBA called the name of our dealership / reconditioning. And what I actually did was I hired a combo person. This is somebody that can do body work and pretty good paint work. She did really good paint work. And I didn't want to interrupt what we were doing in our collision. So I brought her in, and I'm going to switch gears just a little bit because it's relevant. Just a side note to all recon. As department heads, we get this mindset that we're limited by traditional hours and days. We have a customer of ours here at Rapid Recon that runs 2 full-time 13-hour shifts, Monday through Saturday. And every employee that works for them has a 4-day weekend. And when I talked to the individual that runs this department, I said, how hard is it for you to get people to come work for you? I mean, they're working really 12 hours a day with a 1-hour lunch. Is that tough? He's like, no way. Everybody wants a 4-day work weekend. So you're not limited by your real estate. You're limited by what you're willing to do. And that dealer that I'm talking about, they pump out over 900 vehicles a month. They have 6 mechanical bays, 3 cosmetic bays, and 3 detail bays. And then they have actually a body shop off to the side of that. But get your mindset out of I can only work from 7 to 7 or 7 to 8 or 9 to 5 or whatever that is. There's 24 hours in a day, and there's probably people that are willing to work some of those hours. And so that's what I did, is I brought in somebody. Then she worked from 2 to 10. So she would come in early for her and do her body work. Our paint team would continue to use all of our paint department. They'd set the last vehicle to bake before they'd go home, sometime between 5:30 and 6. It would end that bake cycle. She would pull it out, and then she would have access to all three booths. And so she would load her booths and spray, and then she'd hit her bake cycle. And the lot tech that came in early in the morning would pull those vehicles, unmask them, clean them up, and get them out. So you can internalize your cosmetic reconditioning, at least your paint work. And where I'm going to go from here, I know not every dealer has a body shop. In fact, less than 10% of franchise dealers have body shops associated with them. So that's not going to apply to everybody. But there's so much that we could be doing. Even in our mechanical bays, that's cosmetic related. And let me go into some examples there. The first one that just really comes to mind, and I see this all the time, you got a windshield replacement team that's coming in doing windshield chip repairs. So they're hunting down a car, they're trying to find it, and they're doing windshield chips. You can do that while you're doing an oil change. The average windshield repair kit, I think you could, a really nice one a technician can buy, either through their tool supplier, or right now you can buy them from Amazon. They're right around $350, which is way less than the tech even spends on a digital torque wrench these days. And imagine you pull the vehicle in for its initial inspection. It's got 3 windshield chip repairs. In most cases, most dealers are just going to go ahead and approve $30 worth of windshield chip repair. Drill the windshield, fill it with your resin, put your light on it, and then throw it up on the rack and start your oil change. And that resin's hardening while you're doing your oil change. That's just another revenue source that you can pick up. Imagine picking up 0.3 of an hour on most of your reconditioning vehicles and not subletting that money. That's money you're already spending. So that's one thing you can do there. PDR is another one. I know that scares a lot of dealers. I did PDR, not personally, but I had a technician that did it for me. There are companies out there that will train your staff to do that. You can send them out for training.
So Anthony, tell me again, why not just use the repair facilities down the street?
Well, for obvious reasons, you're just giving that money away. There's net profit that can be made at the dealership by using your internal store, by using your own shop.
You talked about, and I've heard you talk about having technicians even do look for damage and look for things at the same time as they're doing the mechanical work. So on the inspection side, is that relevant here?
Yeah, it's very relevant. I don't see this enough in car dealers. When you bring the vehicle in to do the initial inspection and service, so many times we just do a service inspection. And the used car manager, we really owe him full optics on everything that vehicle needs. So even if you, as used car managers, even if you want to pay a little bit more for your used car inspection, it's going to be worth it. Add an extra 0.3 to that inspection, and expect your service department, as they're going through that initial inspection, to pick up on your cosmetic work and let you know what you need. I've seen it so many times where we mechanically recondition a car and then it goes over to cosmetic, and the used car manager is just blindsided by how much cosmetic work this vehicle needs. He's already into it $2,500, and the only way he's going to get out of it is if he fixes it just to break even. So he'll dump another $3,000 into it cosmetic, and he's giving away all of his gross. Although in fixed, we would like that $3,000 worth of body work. We'd like that $2,500 worth of mechanical work. Earning and maintaining the trust of your used car manager is going to earn you way more, hours and work than, doing something that might be a little bit deceitful. If you're mechanically reconditioning a vehicle and you know it's got that much cosmetic damage, in the back of your mind, you know that the used car manager may not be aware. You owe it to them to let them know. So include that in your inspection. They need to know going in what to expect. Dennis, I'm going to circle back to something you just asked me about, why you internalize cosmetic reconditioning. And I brought up profit as a reason, and I'm a fixed guy, so fixed profit's important to me. But what's really important is that the time to line and how fast we get those vehicles to the front line. And that's what's important to the dealer. And a lot of times we do things in fixed simply because they are important to the dealer. They may not directly benefit us, but they do benefit the business. And by internalizing some things, we get that vehicle done quicker. As an example, we did in our cosmetic reconditioning, we did interior repair. I never made a dime on interior repair. In fact, I probably lost money at it. But we did it because it helped that vehicle get to the front line quicker. We were at 4.3 days, including all that paint work that I talked about, including all the cosmetic reconditioning. And that's from acquisition to frontline ready. And that was because we had those services available in-house to get those vehicles done. We didn't wait for an outside vendor to come in. And that's important to the dealer.
Is that, I mean, when you have those resources under your control, I guess you're able to adjust the priorities as the demand for those vehicles comes flying into the dealership.
Yeah.
And how do you actually do that? How do you know what to do next so that this flow of work you're trying to do to speed your time to the front line, continues to be a smooth process and not jerk everybody around?
Well, it's no secret that I'm going to say Rapid Recon, but we used Rapid Recon on the dealer that I worked at, and we had full optics on what was coming into those departments and really what those vehicles needed. And so it was easy for us to gauge where the next available technician was. We managed to the availability of the tech, not first in, first out. And that's another thing I see all the time, that dealers go, this car was here first, we need to get it done first. But you might have an interior repair technician available right now, but all of your mechanical people are tied up. We would flip that over to interior, knock that out, and then it could go back to mechanical, and then it would come over for maybe paint restoration, touch up. But we really managed to the availability of our people, and that's the only way we got down to 4.3, including cosmetic.
So in that system, I mean, I guess you know where everything is all the time, and you know exactly how long each of those decisions are taking in terms of the steps or buckets.
Absolutely, we did, and we relied heavily on that. Our technicians knew what the vehicle needed, and so they were able to flip that to the next available tech. There was a rare instance where somebody couldn't determine where the vehicle needed to go. Maybe we had a technician off of work, or everything was loaded up, and so we put a step in our system, literally called next available tech, and it would automatically notify our inventory chaser. So when a technician was kind of at an impasse and said, I don't know what to do next because everybody's slammed right now, he would flip it to that individual, and that individual actually had the authority to push something out and put something else ahead of it. So if a car was hot and it got stalled out for some reason, it wouldn't wait. It would go to this individual and get prioritized.
Anthony, if I'm a group level person, owner of a couple of franchises, or a director of, say, fixed operations for a group, what am I going to see that'll kind of help me keep my hands around the productivity, the speed, the efficiency of multiple operations?
Well, in Rapid Recon's platform, we have enterprise level reporting, and that allows really somebody at a 10,000 foot view very quickly to see where the bottlenecks are in the store. Because our system breaks reconditioning down by phase, there's a very quick report that will show you, is this store excelling in service? Does it have opportunities in service? Does it have opportunities in cosmetic? And then you can, if you wanted to, you could drill down into each one of those areas. But most of the higher ups will look at that at the 10,000 foot view. They can see that one store is crushing it in service. The store right next to it in their organization is not. And as a director, you'd pick up the phone and call those two managers and say, James, you're killing it. John, you've got opportunity. The two of you need to go to lunch and figure this out. Those two individuals would then dig into Rapid Recon and find out why one service department is so much more successful than the other, or they would reach out to our performance managers and have us do that analysis for them. But the tool gives you visibility at that 10,000 foot level to see where every store is performing and across all brands. It doesn't discriminate if the vehicle's a Mercedes or a Chevrolet. We know that good practices are good practices.
So, Anthony, last question here. When you, I mean, at 4.3 days, you've already got a lot going for you. But if you're overseeing that, how do you keep it at that level? How do you keep your hands on improving your processes?
Well, the market's always changing, and so you get things down to 4.3 days, and you think, great, I've achieved greatness, and I can coast. And tomorrow, somebody throws you a curveball. The key really is staying in front of the car, and I'm going to give Rapid Recon another plug here because we wouldn't have been able to stay in front of the car without it. The fact that Rapid Recon is a communication platform that happens to have workflow tracking allows us to stay in front of those curveballs. So in many cases, when you don't have a workflow management tool, I'm going to say in all cases where you don't have a workflow management tool like ours, you find out later that you had a problem earlier. With tools like this, you find out now that you have a problem, or you actually will find out that you will have a problem. Knowing where everything's at and having full transparency allowed us to really cut a lot of these problems off at the pass, if you will. And we could see things coming where we were going to have some opportunity. We're pretty seasonal out here in Utah. We don't get hail a lot, but there have been instances where we had a lot of hail damage. You're going to have a lot of vehicles coming in with a lot of PDR when that happens, and how to keep track of all that and balance it and use your own internal staff. And at that point, when we had that many vehicles coming in with hail damage, we did have to bring in some outside vendors. How do you keep track of all that and who's doing what? It's impossible to do without a tool like this.
Well, I have a last question now. I keep hearing this term, inspect what you expect. And it seems like a lot of general managers and above kind of throw this around. And I'm just wondering, in your experience, is that a useful way of looking at things? And how did you handle that?
Well, it's very useful. So we had a standing meeting every Tuesday morning at the dealership to talk about recon. And a lot of people say, well, I didn't do it Monday. Well, shoot, Monday, you're coming off of a weekend. All the trades are coming in. The service lane is slammed. Technicians might be a little bit behind because they had some work coming in. So Tuesday mornings are the very best time to inspect what you expect. Bring the key people together for 15 to 20 minutes. And look, this meeting is not a butt chewing session. We're not there to point fingers. We're there to look at what the situation looks like this week, what opportunities came up over the last few days that we haven't addressed yet, and things that we need to address going into the next week. So we would have a standing Rapid Recon meeting every Tuesday morning. We'd pull up the metrics. We'd look at that week by week report that shows you how things are trending. And you can see, look, we were doing well in service for these 3 weeks. We're starting to trend down. We haven't even hit that red threshold yet, but we can see that number creeping up a little bit. And so we might make a few tweaks just based on that. So that Tuesday morning inspect what you expect meeting is vital.
Who are the people in that meeting specifically? Who are the department leads that you make sure are on track?
We had service collision in that meeting. We also had our lead tech or our foreman that handled our mechanical work there, and then our foreman for our cosmetic work was there as well. So we had the leaders in the room, and they would also bring concerns from some of the frontline people. If we had a service writer or anybody that was involved with reconditioning that might have a concern, that meeting was the space to voice that. Yeah, I just want to drive home that look at every single thing that needs to be done to that vehicle before it's frontline ready, or I'm going to use a different term here, but I call it sensory ready, because sometimes we put vehicles on the front line and you get inside, and if it smells, and the right or the wrong buyer is in that car, you've lost your turn. So make sure that your vehicles are sensory ready, but look at every single thing that goes into that car and ask yourself, can I do any of this internally? It will save you so much time. And who doesn't like a little bit more net profit, right?
Yeah, awesome. Clearly. All right. Well, this has been very helpful, Anthony, and I certainly appreciate your insights to this area. And the fact that you know so much about it, and you've had a lot of success in applying your own approaches to things with the right tool, of course. I think is really helpful to the industry at large here. So, thank you for sharing your insights.
Thanks for having me, Dennis.